What's up, guys? It's your boy Cam, and I am back with a new video for a new series. And as you can see, this is TEW 2020. I'm really excited. We're in April of in-game time, April 2021 of in-game time, and I started this series last year actually, and this was an April 2020 mod. So I'm really played a year of in-game time, and I've been wanting to get back to YouTube since I did some other fantasy booking for WWE. Feels like forever ago. But now since I have TEW 2020, I feel like it could be a lot better. I feel like I've gotten better creatively, storyline wise. And also I feel like it's more interesting since the TEW 2020 community is a lot bigger than the whatever community I was in a couple years ago. So this is TEW 2020. But first, I just want to say thanks. If you want to stay, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do. I'm going to read all the comments. So let's just get into it. But before I get y'all into what I'm going to do, I need to catch y'all guys up. So let's do it. So when I started the game, it was in April 1st of 2021, the first week of April 2021. So we was on the road to take over Tampa, you know, in the world before there was the coronavirus. So I just want to give y'all a brief, I say it's brief, but I want to give y'all a rundown of all the things I've been doing for the past year. So first, I had Io Shirai. So this is NXT TakeOver Tampa. This was week 4 of April 2020. So I had Io Shirai defeat Charlotte and Rhea Ripley to win the NXT Women's Championship. This is when Rhea lost the championship to Charlotte at WrestleMania, and I really didn't like that decision. I would have had Rhea retain, but as in real life, Io had won the championship a couple months later, but in game time, this was a few months before that. But I had Io Shirai defeat Charlotte and Rhea to win the NXT Women's Championship. I had Bronson Reed beat Killian Dane. I feel like Bronson Reed has mega star potential. He has some potential to be a big player in NXT. As you can see, I've been giving him some wins later down the road. Killian Dane, I don't know. I'm not too high on Killian Dane, but we'll see. I'm trying to be in this mentality, even though I might not like the wrestler. I still want to have something important for them to do, as you can see. So that's why it's going to be imperative for the comments. If you have any creative ideas for people like Killian Dane or other people I might not have any plans for, that would be greatly appreciated. But I had Bronson Reed beat Killian Dane, just give Bronson Reed some momentum. I had the Broserweights defeat Mustache Mount and the Grizzled Young Veterans. I had Bianca Belair and a special partner defeat Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green, and that partner ended up being Tegan Knox. So the story behind this was Chelsea Green and Robert Stone wanted Bianca Belair to be in the Robert Stone brand, but she declined it. And then after a few weeks, Deonna Purrazzo ended up attacking Bianca Belair, and she ended up being the new recruit in the Robert Stone brand. So I had Bianca Belair and Tegan Knox actually beat Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green. Looking back at it, I probably should have had the Robert Stone brand win by pinning Tegan. But hey. We got the finals for the Cruiserweight Championship since Jordan Devlin couldn't come over. So I had Santos Escobar defeat Kushida with the help of the two masked men, as in real life. And that ended up being Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. Johnny Gargano defeated Tommaso Ciampa in their last match, quote-unquote last match. We'll see what happens. But I had Johnny Gargano defeat Tommaso Ciampa in their last match with the help of Candice LeRae. I like how Candice turned heel along with her husband and Johnny Gargano, and I thought that was a good idea. So I had Candice turn on Ciampa, since she was the one that said this needs to end at TakeOver, but she ended up helping Johnny in the end. After the match, debuting Karrion Kross beats the brakes off of Ciampa by putting him in a cross jacket. I felt like this was the most impactful way to debut Karrion Kross by beating one of the cornerstones in NXT, which is Tommaso Ciampa. He ended up beating the brakes off Ciampa after the match and putting him in a cross jacket. I had Damien defeat Cameron Grimes, Dominic Dijakovic, and Dexter Lumis in a fatal 4-way. This has implications later on down the road. And then title for title, I had Keith Lee defeat Adam Cole to retain the North American Championship and win the NXT Championship. I did like the idea of having title for title, and I wanted to build Keith Lee since Adam Cole in game and in real life was a made man. I feel like this was the best way to put Keith Lee over. So Keith Lee was a double champion. Note, things to note, Keith Lee, like in real life, he had Dominic Dijakovic as his first challenger, and he did that as a way to say thanks for helping me put on the map since they had all those classic matches together. Keith Lee defeated Dominic Dijakovic to retain both championships. Then after the match, Damien Priest attacked both men with the nightstick. So Damien Priest, he won that fatal four-way. In his mind, he feels that he's the next #1 contender. And so what happened was Keith Lee gave Damien Priest a match a couple weeks later, and Damien Priest defeated Keith Lee to win the North American Championship after interference from Johnny Gargano. Since Johnny, after beating Ciampa, he had his eyes on the NXT Championship, and he felt that Keith Lee wasn't really paying attention to him. So what he did was he cost Keith Lee the match and the championship. And something different from real life, I did not like Keith Lee just relinquishing the championship. Then what's the point of having a double champion? I would have just had him lose, even though you don't want your champions losing. This is for a good way. It also progresses the storyline, also builds someone up in Damien Priest. And then this is NXT TakeOver in your house. As what happened in real life, this is June 2020. I had Mustache Mountain defeat the Broserweights to win the NXT tag titles. But after the match, I had Pete Dunne turn on Matt Riddle, because Pete Dunne, to me, he really did need to turn on Matt Riddle so it could build the storyline. So I had Mustache Mountain beating the Broserweights. I had Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green defeating Tegan Nox in the handicap match after they pointed out a loophole in the contract. This was just a way to extend what happened at NXT TakeOver Tampa. They had a problem with, the Rob brand had a problem with Tegan Nox. So she thought she was going to face either Chelsea or Deonna. I don't know who it was at the time. But the Rob brand pointed out a loophole in the contract that made it a handicap match. And they went ahead and beat Tegan. Had Roderick Strong defeat Dexter Lumis because Dexter Lumis was just stalking Roderick Strong. Dexter Lumis is an awesome character. And then I had Candice LeRae and Mia Yim Brawl, which means this was just an extension of how the Johnny Gargano Keith Lee feud, since they're both the significant others of Johnny and Keith Lee respectively. So I went ahead and have them feud with each other. Then I had Damien Priest defeat Dominic Dijakovic to retain the North American Championship. And then Io Shirai defeated Dakota Kai to retain the NXT Women's Championship. I feel like Dakota Kai was a great challenger, a great first challenger for Io. So I had Io Shirai defeat Dakota Kai. And then I had Karrion Kross defeat Tommaso Ciampa by stoppage. I don't think it really had it as a squash match, but I had Karrion Kross beat Ciampa so bad that he couldn't, the referee just had to stop the match. Then I had Santos Escobar defeat the Brian Kendrick to retain the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. The storyline in this was that the Brian Kendrick, he's older. He just wanted one last shot, and Santos says, I'm going to give you one last shot because you can't touch me. I'm Santos Escobar. And Santos went ahead and defeated Brian Kendrick. Then I had Rhea Ripley defeat Charlotte. I felt like this was a way to correct what happened at WrestleMania, because that really killed Rhea Ripley's momentum in real life. And I just thought that this was a good way to build Rhea up and just to settle that feud a little bit. And then I had Keith Lee beat Johnny Gargano to retain the NXT Championship. Things to note, I actually signed Yui Komatsu. He made his NXT debut. For those that don't know, this is Yo from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's in a tag team with Sho, and his contract just came up, and I needed some depth. I said, okay, I think this would be a good signing, so I did that. Then after NXT TakeOver in your house, I like the storyline. So Killian Dane, he wanted to call out Ciampa for weeks. He called out Ciampa weeks on end. He went to NXT, he called out Ciampa for several weeks, and he had no answer at all. Since what happened at NXT was Ciampa just didn't show up because he's nursing his injuries, and this was a character change for Ciampa as well. Since he was a babyface, and Ciampa is best as a heel, so I went ahead and changed his character, and you can see what happens after that. And then Johnny gave an interview after he lost. Reed and Isaiah Scott was just laughing at him. Bianca Belair called out Charlotte because her and Charlotte had some unfinished business to attend to. Lio Rush had his eyes on the Cruiserweight Championship. Dakota Kai and Raquel went ahead and attacked Rhea Ripley. And then the Robert Stone brand went ahead and attacked Io Shirai. Adam Cole returned and he was gunning for the NXT Championship. And he was targeting Keith Lee and Dexter Lumis, since Dexter Lumis was feuding with the Undisputed Era, mainly Roderick Strong. And then I had an NXT Gold Rush episode where it was mostly all the titles on the line. I had Keith Lee defeat Adam Cole to retain the NXT Championship. I had Dexter interfere. And Roddy also accidentally cost Adam the match. This is going to play in several storylines down the road. I'll talk about that later. I don't want no spoilers. So I had Santos Escobar defeat Leo Rush. Had Io Shirai. One hand she defeated Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo. So this is NXT TakeOver Armageddon. This was something that happened, around SummerSlam weekend. So late August. But I think this one was in the first week of September. So Mustache Mountain defeated Grizzled Young Veterans to retain the NXT Championship. Kushida went ahead and defeated Santos Escobar to win the NXT Championship. Now knowing, why did my voice crack? Now knowing what happened, he went ahead and got his revenge for what happened several months down the road. What happened several months later. Candice LeRae, Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae were brawling, and they've been having this long feud. And I think Candice LeRae injured Mia Yim in storyline, so Mia Yim returned here on this pay-per-view, and she went ahead and attacked Candice, and they had a match, but Candice ended up winning. Dexter Lumis defeated Adam Cole after Roddy accidentally cost Adam Cole the match. So I'm teasing some dissension in the Undisputed Era. Johnny defeated Reed, Bianca defeated Charlotte, then Ciampa went ahead and returned during NXT, and he just snapped like the Black Card Ciampa, the one when he carried the NXT Championship. This is the brutal Ciampa that I wanted to see. So I went ahead and had this feud as a character change for him. So he's just becoming a sadistic Ciampa that we all know and love. He went ahead and beat Killian Dane. I think that was a steel cage match. Matt Riddle had returned. He beat Pete Dunne. Io Shirai went ahead and defeated Rhea Ripley to retain the NXT Women's Championship. And then Karrion Kross, like in real life around this time, defeated Keith Lee to win the NXT Championship. So this is one of the major changes from real life. Since I had the roster and 2 hours wasn't really enough time to feature all the talent, I introduced a brand split. So we have on Tuesdays, we have Inferno. Then Wednesdays, we have Thunder. Then I also started my own developmental company called FSW, since I was doing NXT, and NXT became its own company when I started the brand. So I ended up making our own developmental territory for people that weren't ready, because I had a few people on the roster that was kicking out like 20s or 30s, and that really wasn't good enough, so I put them down in developmental. Then I also did the Mae Young Classic in the first round. I had Mia Yim defeated Su Yung, Cheerleader Melissa defeated Tanara, Allison K beat Rachel Evans, Chelsea Green defeated MJ Jenkins, Deonna Purrazzo defeated Casey Catanzaro, Eva Lise beat Kaden Carter, Caitlyn, she returned. I had her return, and she defeated Jasmine Duke. Shotzi defeated Sari. Tegan Knox defeated Santana Garrett. Thunder Rosa, that says Thunder Rose, but it's actually Thunder Rosa. I signed Thunder Rosa because when I was watching AEW, I said, man, Thunder Rosa is good. So I ended up signing her, and she ended up being Raquel Gonzalez. I ended up snatching Rosemary from Impact Wrestling. She defeated Jessica Mia. Had Mercedes Martinez defeat Jordan Grace. I ended up really signing most of these women from the tournament. I ended up releasing a few because they weren't good. I'll talk about that later. But I ended up getting Jordan Grace as well. Ended up signing Mercedes Martinez. She ended up defeating Jordan Grace. I had Dakota Kai. She beat Kylie Ray. I signed her. I signed Toni Storm as well. She defeated Viper. And then one of my favorite signings of the series so far is Mayu Iwatani. And she defeated Aaliyah. And during the series, since I converted from TEW 2016 to TEW 2020, Mayu had at least 60 popularity. So I had to sign her. And I do like Jersey Star Wrestling as well. I was trying to get into that more. In the second round, I had Toni Storm defeat Chelsea Green. Tegan defeated Eva Lise. Cheerleader Melissa defeated Mia Yim. Deonna defeated Caitlyn. Rosemary defeated Mercedes. Dakota defeated Shotzi. Tenille defeated Thunder Rosa. Also, Tenille Dashwood, I ended up signing her from Impact Wrestling as well, if I didn't say that. And then I had Mayu Iwatani defeat Allison K. So this was the quarterfinals. I had Dakota Kai defeat Tegan Knox as a way of what happened from TakeOver Portland. I used that in storyline, and Dakota still ended up winning this one. So Dakota ended up defeating Tegan. Tanya defeated Rosemary. Tenille defeated Deonna. I actually like Deonna Purrazzo. I feel like she could be a major asset to the NXT. It's such a shame that they released her. I kept her, obviously, and we'll see what happens. She's in some major storylines currently. Mayu defeated cheerleader Melissa. That's gonna come back in future storylines. I had in the semifinals, I had Tennille Dashwood defeat Dakota Kai, and then had Mayu Iwatani defeat Toni Storm. And then in the finals, oh, that was bad. My bad. But in the finals, I had Tennille Dashwood defeat Mayu Iwatani to win the Mae Young Classic. At first, I was going to give the Mae Young Classic to Mayu Iwatani since she was the most popular woman on the roster, or the woman in the tournament. But then I felt that it would be a good comeback story for Tennille since she got released from WWE to come back and win the Mae Young Classic, also as a way to build up a new star. So I had her defeat Mayu Iwatani to win the Mae Young Classic. And then this were the last pay-per-views before I converted to TEW 2020. After she did a retain over Santos, I ended up signing one of my favorite tag teams of all time, Motor City Machine Guns, and they went ahead and defeated Legado del Fantasma. Yuriko Tamatsu defeated Damien Priest. Pete Dunne, he ended up beating Keith Lee. Then Tommaso Ciampa defeated ACH. So Tommaso Ciampa was on a vicious streak. He ended up just snapping necks. No, he just gave people a what's it called? Is that the Widow's Belt? He ended up giving people the Widow's Belt on outside on the floor. So it ended up injuring a lot of superstars in storyline, and just unimportant people like Jackson Riker. I ended up releasing, but ended up signing ACH because I felt that would be a good redemption story for him. And he ended up saving one of the people that Ciampa was going to injure, and they ended up having a back and forth feud because ACH wanted to prove himself. Ciampa's just on a vicious streak right now, but Tommaso Ciampa defeated ACH. Mayu Iwatani and cheerleader Melissa ended up defeating the Robert Stone brand, which is Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green. Since the Robert Stone brand was targeting Mayu Iwatani, cheerleader Melissa ended up going in her corner and teaming with her, and they ended up beating the Robert Stone brand. But cheerleader Melissa and Mayu are not friends at all. Ended up signing Dragon Lee because he was a part of people I started signing for my developmental, and he ended up beating Johnny Gargano. And the story behind that is Johnny was tired of newcomers coming in and taking his spot. So Johnny went ahead and super kicked Dragon Lee after he debuted on the first episode of Inferno. But Dragon Lee went ahead and defeated Johnny Gargano. And then had Tennille Dashwood defeat Io Shirai to win the NXT Women's Championship. So this is NXT TakeOver Detroit. Shout out 313. I had Adam Cole. What happened here was Adam Cole was feuding with Matt Riddle. But, because of the speaking out movement and all those things, I felt that I don't know what his situation was at the time. So I ended up going to in-game editor and just setting his contract down to 1 day. He ended up leaving the company, and in storyline, I just had UE beat him down so bad that we just never heard from him again. I don't know if I will sign Matt Riddle again. I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. But he ended up having an open challenge, and who answered was Ilya Dragunov. I ended up having a partnership with NXT UK, so this was happening there. Allison K defeated Mia Yim. Bandito, I signed him. He defeated Isaiah Scott. Bronson Reed defeated Ricky Starks. I ended up signing Ricky Starks after seeing him what he did in AEW. So I had Bronson Reed feud with Ricky Starks, and Bronson Reed. I originally had Ricky Starks to win, but Bronson he was losing some momentum, so I had Bronson Reed win. Brody King defeated Killian Dane in the last man standing match. I'm a fan of Brody King, so I ended up signing him. I didn't have the Battle of the Mans. I ended up signing Anthony Green as well. I was signing a lot of people at this point. But I ended up tagging him with Rick Boogs, and Rick Boogs, he was doing the air guitar thing, so I thought Anthony Green would be a good pairing. Since I saw some of Anthony Green's promos, he was that Retros 80 dude, and I felt that was a good way to partner him and Rick Boogs together. They defeated the Grizzled Young Veterans. The Grizzled Young Veterans ended up beating them the first week there. Also, I forgot to put this right there. FTR returned. Since WWE didn't in-game, they didn't sign FTR or the Revival at that point. They didn't resign the Revival. So I ended up signing them. Then I had FTR return and beat the Battle of the Man. had them return and beat down Anthony Green and Rick Boogs. Karrion Kross defeated Dominic Dijakovic to win the NXT Championship. And then since I had a brand split, I wanted a women's title for each brand. So I made the NXT Intercontinental Championship, where Bianca Belair was the first ever women's champion for the Intercontinental Champion. She was the first ever champion, and she ended up beating Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley in a triple threat match. Okay, so that was all the stuff from TEW 2016. So let me hear. No spoilers. Where's show history? Okay. Let me just show you all the things that's been happening since then. There's a lot of major things that's been happening. So let's go to all shows. Let me just give you a brief rundown. So I had NXT TakeOver Las Vegas. This is for the Inferno brand. So Mustache Mountain ended up defeating Motor City Machine Guns to retain the NXT Championship. Dakota Kai defeated Caitlyn. At this point, I released Caitlyn, therefore, after this match, because her ratings really weren't that good. If you see her, like a 29, I felt that she could have done better. I probably should have put her back in developmental, but I wasn't thinking at the time. So I just had Dakota Kai beat her, and I ended up releasing her. I had Rosemary defeat Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green in a Rosemary Funhouse match. It was a cinematic match, and I felt that it was a good way to introduce Rosemary to the casual audience while also doing a cinematic match. Damien Priest defeated Johnny Gargano. This was a match just to put two men together since they didn't have anything else to do at the time. I had Mayu Iwatani defeat Cheerleader Melissa in a 78. This was one of the best matches in the series, in the save. What happened here was Cheerleader Melissa was so obsessed with trying to avenge the only loss she's had in the company up to this point, and that was to Mayu Iwatani. She ended up helping in tag against the Robert Stone brand, but that was only a formality, and this is what she really wanted, was to face Mayu, but Mayu ended up having her number and beating her. Yuri Kotomatsu defeated Pete Dunne to retain the NXT North American title, and then it had Tennille Dashwood defeat Io Shirai to retain her NXT Championship with help from Jessica Havoc. Jessica Havoc, she debuted and gave Io Shirai a chokeslam. Keith Lee defeated Tommaso Ciampa, and then after the match, after Keith Lee won, Ciampa snapped, and he ended up stomping on Keith Lee's throat with a steel chair. And then it had Santos Escobar lose to Dragon Lee. The story behind this was, after Santos lost the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, he wanted Dragon Lee to join Legado del Fantasma, and he gave him a few weeks to answer, and Dragon Lee ended up declining, and Santos felt he was disrespected, so they ended up having a match. But even though Dragon Lee won, Legado beat on him, but debuting Flamita came for the save. Let's see here. I had Bandito defeated Kushida and Swerve to win the NXT Cruiserweight title, because at this point Kushida was near main event level, and I thought that Cruiserweight title was beneath him, so I had him beat Swerve and Kushida to win the NXT Cruiserweight title. Ricky Starks ended up defeating Tyler Breeze. Ricky Starks said he was the real Prince Pretty, and Tyler Breeze excuse me. Ricky Starks ended up defeating Tyler Breeze because Ricky Starks said that he was the real Prince Pretty, and Tyler Breeze took offense to that, and he said that Tyler Breeze was washed up. So Ricky Starks ended up defeating Tyler Breeze. Bronson Reed defeated Cameron Grimes. FTR went ahead and beat the Battle of the Mans. Allison K defeated Rhea Ripley. The new signing, as you can see here, Jungle Kiona actually signed her from Stardom. Brody King defeated Dominic Dijakovic. Eva Leafs defeated Mia Yim. Did I go over the point where I actually signed the Rascals from Impact Wrestling. Brody King defeated Dominic Dijakovic. Bianca Belair retained her NXT Intercontinental title over Candice LeRae. Charlotte went ahead and defeated Thunder Rosa. I actually like the storyline. What happened was Thunder Rosa ended up eliminating Charlotte from the Battle Royal to determine the number one contender for the NXT Intercontinental title, which Candice LeRae won, obviously. and Charlotte took offense to this, so she called Thunder Rosa. She ended up basically kind of bullying Thunder Rosa, saying that she's no one. She doesn't have Charlotte's respect. She's a nobody. But after the match, after Thunder Rosa took Charlotte to the limit, Charlotte ended up respecting Thunder Rosa. Karrion Kross defeated Dexter Lumis to win the NXT Championship. During the Dominic Dijakovic Karrion Kross feud, I had Dexter Lumis basically stalk both men, and he was gunning for the NXT title, but I had him stalking from rooftops. It was kind of crazy. But he was just looking at what happened. He was just looking and biding his time to see who was going to be the next person to come out that feud. Obviously, Karrion Kross won, so I had him do that. And then Chad Gable debuted during the build to NXT TakeOver Starrcade and ended up beating Adam Cole. And Roddy ended up costing Adam the match again. And Cole is just livid because he lost the title, he lost to Lumis, he lost to Gable, and it's all because Roddy interfered in his matches. So, yeah. I debuted a new show called Explosion. This is just for people, lower to unimportant people on the show that needed some momentum. So I made a show called Nxt Explosion. Yeah, we got a lot to go over. Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma defeated Trey Miguel. I ended up signing him from Impact as well. He defeated Dragon Lee and Flamita. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat. But Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma defeated Trey Miguel, Dragon Lee, and Flamita. What happened was I continued to field with Dragon Lee, Flamita, and Legado del Fantasma, and I needed a 6-man. And that 6-man was Trey Miguel. I felt like this was a good way to introduce him to the crowd. But he ended up taking the pin in this match. And this was a way to end the Santos Escobar, the Santos Escobar, Dragon Lee, and Flamita feud. Tenille Dashwood defeated Deonna Purrazzo. What happened here was Rosemary ended up taking cheerleader Melissa out of the Fatal 5-Way. And Kathy Kelly told Deonna Purrazzo in the backstage interview with Chelsea Green, Robert Stone, and Deonna, that Deonna was the one to get to be in that Fatal 5-Way, and she ended up winning it. And I was playing a storyline up where Chelsea Green said that she's happy for Deonna, and she's happy for Deonna, this, that, and the third. But Chelsea was the one. She ended up turning on Deonna Purrazzo. I was making a storyline. I came up with this storyline when I decided to make Deonna Purrazzo the #1 contender for Tenille's NXT Women's Championship, and Chelsea ended up turning on Deonna, costing her the match because she felt that she was the one that brought her into the Robert Stone brand, and she felt that she was kind of betrayed by Deonna because it should have been her to be in that match and not Deonna. Rosemary defeated cheerleader Melissa after Rosemary took out cheerleader Melissa. Ilya Dragunov, he ended up signing with NXT and also ended up signing Ace Austin. Damien Priest wanted a rematch for Yuri Kotsmatsu's NXT North American Championship, and Ace Austin and Jake something ended up costing Damien Priest the match, and Ace Austin ended up signing him in developmental, ended up calling him up, and I thought that him and Damien Priest would be a good way to put Ace Austin over as a Weasley heel, and he ended up defeating Damien Priest. Io Shirai defeated Jessica Havoc in a Texas death match. That was a way to end that feud. I couldn't really have Jessica Havoc beat Io Shirai because Io Shirai has almost 80 popularity, and Jessica had 40, and Io would have been upset if I had her lose. Kushida ended up beating Pete Dunne in a submission match. What happened here was Pete Dunne said he's disappointed because he heard all this hype around Kushida, and he wanted to see the Kushida that everyone was talking about when he was first signed by NXT. He wanted to see this brutal side of Kushida, and they ended up having a submission match, and I had Kushida, quote-unquote, break Pete Dunne's arm to show he's on a vicious streak. I had Maya Watani defeat Dakota Kai. Keith Lee, he returned during the build to this. Ciampa, and they ended up having a Hell in a Cell match and Keith Lee ended up defeating Ciampa in a Hell in a Cell match. Yuri Kotsmatsu defeated Johnny Gargano to win the NXT North American title. What happened here was I was putting a storyline where Johnny was so desperate because he lost to Damien. He lost. He's been on a losing streak, and he needed something, and that something was NXT North American title. So he ended up attacking Yuri, giving him a super kick, even though Johnny really didn't deserve it. He said he'll put his career, or if he loses, he has to leave NXT Inferno, and Yuri accepted, and Johnny lost. This is NXT TakeOver Doomsday. Let's see here. So FTR, after they beat Battle of the Mans, they went ahead and defeated Mustache Mountain to win the NXT Tag Titles. Matt Sydal, he ended up debuting. I had him be some sort of prophet for the Cruiserweight division, since he says his whole third eye. Since he says he has his whole third eye, he's here to bring revelation to the Cruiserweight division, and he's just being a heel. So he ended up attacking Bandito, and they have this match, and Bandito ended up getting himself DQ'd because he just kept beating on Matt Sydal. Dexter Lumis defeated Cameron Grimes in a cinematic match where Cameron Grimes attacked Dexter Lumis after the match a couple weeks before NXT TakeOver Doomsday, and Dexter Lumis actually jumped Cameron Grimes in the parking lot, ended up kidnapping him. Yes, he ended up kidnapping Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes escaped, and they ended up having a cinematic match where Dexter Lumis obviously won. Tony Storm defeated Rhea Ripley. I'm going to tell this story. Rhea was the one that defeated Tony to win the NXT UK Championship. And then at Worlds Collide, Rhea defeated Tony again. So I'm telling a story where Tony can't beat Rhea. And this is to be the #1 contender for Bianca Belair's championship. And Tony Storm defeated Rhea Ripley. Brody King defeated Chad Gable and Bronson Reed. This was to become the new, the new #1 contender for Karrion Kross's or whoever's, as you can see here, for whoever's championship at NXT TakeOver Legacy, which is the current build, which I'll show you later. Brody King won, but I had second thoughts about that, so I put in a storyline where Brody King won, but without controversy. Chad Gable said his foot was under the ropes, so that was a way to put Chad Gable into that feud with Brody King. I had Bianca Belair defeat Allison K. Charlotte Flair ended up beating Candice LeRae. I ended up signing Brian Cage. In game he wasn't signed by anyone, so he was unemployed. So I ended up signing Brian Cage, and I ended up pairing him with Ricky Starks. I like that pairing in real life, so I ended up pairing him with Ricky Starks. But I had him feud with Karrion Kross. He ended up beating Dominic Dijakovic. Brian Cage ended up beating Dominic Dijakovic in his debut. Now he ended up attacking Karrion Kross, going straight for the champ. Ended up attacking Karrion Kross during his entrance, so I had Karrion Kross defeat Brian Cage by stoppage. But since Ricky in the storyline threw in a towel, since he didn't want to see Cage further hurt, and then I had Swerve beat Swerve in a War Games match. I had Team Swerve, which included Tyler Breeze, the Guitar Heroes, which is the repackaged debut of the Battle of the Mans. So that's that's Anthony Green and Rick Buggs. And I had them feud with the Undisputed Era in the War Games match, and they went ahead and beat the Undisputed Era. And Adam Cole's just frustrated because they keep losing. He lost his title at the beginning of the year. I mean, at the end of last year, he's been on this massive losing streak, and the UE is in descent, kind of like how it is in real life. Some of the major talking points from this: Johnny was having his final farewell to the NXT crowd, but had Ace Austin and Jake something attacked Johnny Gargano and then just threw him through electrical equipment. Let's see here. So Trish Stratus was the new GM. So Trish Stratus was the new GM for Thunder and Regal. Excuse me. So William Regal is the GM for Inferno on Tuesdays, and he said he can't handle the responsibility of being GM for both shows. So he ended up announcing a new GM, and that was Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus addressed the controversy from last Sunday, and she said it would be Chad Gable versus Brody King. The winner will face Cross at NXT TakeOver Legacy. I had Camille. She was in developmental. I ended up bringing her up, and she ended up defeating Kaden Carter. Mia Yim and Ivelisse ended up beating Tegan Knox and Shotzi Blackheart. What happened was, after Ivelisse ended up beating Mia Yim, I felt that her being a babyface wasn't really cutting it at the moment, so I ended up turning her heel. Since I don't know if this makes sense, but Mia Yim and Ivelisse kind of have the same gimmick where there are two bad women, and they say they're from the streets. So I ended up making them a team. And Mia Yim, she lost to Candice, she lost to Kay, she lost to Velez, and she just needed a mean streak. And her teaming with Ivelisse, the woman that beat her, she realized she gained respect for Ivelisse, but she also had her moment where she realized that she needed to have a mean streak. So she turned heel, and they attacked Tegan Knox and Shotzi Blackheart, and they ended up beating them in a tag team match several weeks later, which happened here. Adam Cole defeated Matt Sydal. Chad Gable ended up beating Brody King, but Chad won. Kieran Cross comes out and has a stare down with Charlotte, but Brody King set with not Charlotte, but with Scarlett. Scarlett and Kieran have a showdown with Chad, but Brody King said he kicked out at 2, but the ref counted 3. And the biggest moment of the night is when Adam Cole says the UE need to have a hard look in the mirror. Finn Balor comes out and he debuts. Not really debuts, but he returns to NXT and he points the guns at UE. And UE, Roddy, Kyle, and Bobby ended up turning on Adam Cole, and they ended up siding or forming the Balor Club with Finn Balor. And this is a good way to turn Adam babyface and turn the UE. Were they really heels? Well, they're definitely heels, and this is a good way to bring Finn Balor back to NXT, because in the save he was with NXT UK on a handshake deal, and he wasn't on the NXT roster, and I felt that signing him would be a good get for the company, and apparently is. So Finn Balor forms the Balor Club with Roddy, Kyle, and Bobby. Let's see. Anything major? Anything else? Yes, I ended up doing a Dusty Classic. I had, in the first round, I had High Society, which is Nick Aldis and Mike Kanellis. Yeah, he was on the roster. And they ended up beating Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. The Rascals ended up defeating the Acclaimed. I ended up signing them. I'm putting them in developmental. The Guitar Heroes, which is Anthony Green and Rick Boogs. They ended up defeating Indoshare. The UE ended up defeating Mustache Mountain because FTR cost Mustache Mountain the championship, cost Mustache Mountain the match, and that's what happened there, since they were still feuding with FTR at the time. So FTR cost Mustache Mountain the match. One of the other major things that was happening here is Ciampa called out somebody. He wanted competition after his Hell in a Cell match with Keith Lee, and Khabib Nurmagomedov debuted, and he got into Ciampa's face, and both men have a stare down. So the reason I did this is because, let me show you the companies. The reason I did this is because, you see there, Conor McGregor ended up signing with WWE earlier in the save, and since Khabib at the time was retiring, I said, maybe if he goes into the sports world, he might do WWE or might do wrestling. And it was just a good way. I thought it would be a fun thing to do. So I ended up making Khabib Nurmagomedov and ended up signing him. And he has, 68 popularity. At first it was 80, but then I knocked it down to 68. His in-ring stats, he doesn't have 100. But one thing I realized is when you create a character, their stats, it's something like that. So that's what happened there. I might have to knock his stats down a little bit. I think he might be a little too OP. But he ended up signing. He's feuding with Ciampa. Currently, I'm on the build to NXT TakeOver Legacy. That will be the first game with me booking. And NXT TakeOver Legacy is a 2-night event. Okay, pre-booking. It's a 2-night event. And here's the current card for night 1. It will be Bandito versus Tyler Breeze for the Cruiserweight Championship. Bianca Belair versus Toni Storm for the Nxt Intercontinental Championship. Deonna Purrazzo versus Chelsea Green. I think that's a no DQ match. Ilya Dragunov versus Trey Miguel versus Lio Rush versus Ricky Starks versus Dexter Lumis versus Chris Bay. This is a match for the NXT Golden Ticket, and that's kind of our way, like a feast or fire for Impact or Money in the Bank, where a person grabs a contract and they have the opportunity to cash in on whatever championship they want for a year. Io Shirai, she ended up feuding with Rosemary because Rosemary, after she beat Cheerleader Melissa, I ended up changing Cheerleader Melissa to Alyssa Flash, how she was back in Impact or TNA when it was then called, and kind of like the Fiend, how Rosemary ended up changing people after she touches them or after she beats them, and she ended up changing Alyssa Flash, and she says Io Shirai is the next person she's going to change. Has Swerve ended up feuding with Nick Aldis. I was going to bring AR Fox into the company to team with Isaiah Swerve Scott to face Aldis and Mike Bennett, but I ran drug tests. Mike Bennett, Brian Cage, the Brian Kendrick, Matt Sydal, they all tested positive for steroids, and I ended up suspending them. They're all currently coming. They all just got back maybe a couple days ago. Johnny Gargano is facing Ace Austin. So what happened here is Johnny Gargano has just been making Ace Austin's life a living nightmare. Ace Austin, so I created a championship called the NXT Television Championship, and since William Regal is going to give Dragon Lee and Keith Lee the opportunity to face each other, since they've both been on the winning streaks as of late, and Ace Austin said he wants a part of that, so he ended up teaming with his heavy, Jake something, and ended up facing Dragon Lee and Keith Lee, but they ended up losing because Johnny Gargano's theme played, and Ace Austin got distracted and ended up losing. But yeah, then ended up turning out that it was just Griff Garrison that had him be Johnny Gargano super fan, and once they attacked Griff Garrison, Johnny Gargano physically came back after he was attacked and put through the electrical equipment. He's been super kicking Ace Austin, and since he's been a fan, he ended up getting kicked out by security, but he's returned and he just wants a one-on-one match with Ace Austin after Ace and Jake put him through the electrical equipment, put him on the shelf for about a month and a half. And that's going to be an unsanctioned match since Johnny's really not contracted superstar to NXT Inferno. Jordan Grace is facing Jessica Havoc. Motor City Machine Guns is facing the Rascals, since Motor City Machine Guns ended up beating the Rascals in the Dusty Cup finals. Not in the finals, goodness. Motor City Machine Guns ended up beating the Rascals in the Dusty Classic. And the Rascals, they want another shot at Motor City Machine Guns. And they ended up rebranding themselves to MSK to kind of mimic real life. I like that name. And then they have Tommaso Ciampa facing Khabib Nurmagomedov. And then Kushida versus Yuri Korematsu for the NXT North American Championship. And this is just a way Kushida says he wants to hold the major title on the brand just to show that coming to America was not a mistake, and he needs to face Yuri Korematsu and win to validate him coming overseas, coming to America, and winning the NXT North American Championship is going to do that. And Yuri, I'm playing this part where Kushida is the aging veteran and Yuri is the up-and-coming superstar, and Yuri says he doesn't want to be known as a tag team guy, so beating Kushida is the best way to show that he isn't just a tag team guy. Man, I jumped ahead. Let me show you. Night 2 of the Dusty Classic, I had the Hunters defeat Everrise, and that's Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. I renamed them from the Wolves to the Hunters, and they ended up beating Everrise. Trey Miguel and Lio Rush, they ended up tagging for a little bit, and they ended up defeating TNT. The Grizzly Young Veterans ended up defeating Southwell Subculture, and that's just Mark Andrews and Morgan Webster. They won handshake deals just for this tournament, and Grizzly Young Veterans ended up beating them. Motor City Machine Guns ended up defeating Legado del Fantasma. FTR, they were supposed to face Mustache Mountain tonight, but since I think it was Trent Seven, he was working for New Japan or whoever, so I just had Brian Kendrick and Tony Nese face FTR in an open challenge match, and FTR retained. Night 3, Motor City Machine Guns defeated the Rascals. Let's see. Oh, okay. I thought I made a mistake. Okay. Motor City Machine Guns defeated the Rascals. High Society ended up defeating Guitar Heroes. Ballard Club, which would be Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, they defeated Trey Miguel and Leo Rush. The Hunters defeated Grizzly Young Veterans. Then FTR defeated Mustache Mountain to retain the NXT Championship, the NXT titles. And then I had the semifinals and the finals happen. Motor City Machine Guns defeated High Society. Well, since Mike Bennett was suspended and Ricky Starks, I just had Ricky Starks beat up plug-in. Since Brian Cage and Mike Bennett were both suspended, I had nothing. But Ricky Starks was feuding with Dexter. Is currently still feuding with Dexter Lumis. So I just had Nick Aldis ask Ricky Starks to be his partner, and Ricky accepted. Motor City Machine Guns ended up beating him anyway. The Hunters ended up beating Ballard Club since Adam Cole returned and he cost Ballard Club the shot at going to the finals. And then the Hunters ended up defeating Motor City Machine Guns to win the Dusty Cup tag. Ended up winning the Dusty Cup. So, and then for night 2, I ended up having Tennille Dashwood versus Mayu Iwatani. Since Mayu was the clear present challenger, she only lost to one person, and that was Tennille in the Mae Young Classic several months ago, and she needs to beat Tennille to show. She needs to beat Tennille because she's the only person that's beaten her. Pete Dunne, he ended up feuding with Legado del Fantasma because I think he ended up interrupting them, and they ended up beating down on him, and Mustache Mountain ended up coming to save Pete Dunne. But since Pete Dunne went ahead and attacked him several months ago, they still didn't trust him. But after a while, they ended up coming together, and they're going to be facing Legado del Fantasma, Keith Lee versus Dragon Lee. So I ended up creating the NXT Television Championship, and this is the match. It's going to be Keith Lee versus Dragon Lee, and they've been facing each other in the Best of 5 series. I've been playing a storyline where Keith Lee defeated Dragon Lee the first 2 times, and Ray Horus from Ring of Honor ended up taking Dragon Lee under his wing to train him, and Dragon Lee ended up defeating Ray Horus just to help Dragon Lee get some momentum, and Dragon Lee ended up beating Keith Lee the next 2 times, so they'll be facing each other in a blow-off match, in the final match of the Best of 5 to face each other. Karrion Kross is facing Chad Gable and Brody King. So since they both had a legit gripe saying that they were both screwed out of the chances of facing Karrion Kross, so they're just going to fit. So Trish just put them in a triple threat. So it's going to be Karrion versus Chad versus Brody, FTR versus the winners of the Dusty Classic, which will be the Hunters, Dakota Kai versus Renee Michelle. Dakota Kai is basically saying that Renee Michelle doesn't belong in NXT. Then Charlotte Flair versus Allison K. During the build between the Allison K Bianca Belair match, I had Allison K say that she's the true queen of the NXT, or true queen of NXT, and Charlotte took offense to this. So after she went ahead and beat Candice, and Allison lost to Bianca, they ended up facing each other, and they want to see who's the true queen of NXT. And Allison K says she doesn't care about the queen gimmick. She did that just to get up under Charlotte's skin, and she just wants to see. She wants the real Charlotte Flair, and so it's just going to be woman versus woman, no gimmicks, no nothing. Ashley Flair, Charlotte versus Allison K, and then Bronson Reed versus Dominic Dijakovic. To be honest, I really haven't been high on Dominic Dijakovic this entire time during the save. That's why he didn't beat Damien Priest or he hasn't been in any major feuds. After he lost to Ricky Starks, ended up turning him heel and ended up pairing him with Ken Shamrock. I thought that would be a good pairing just to spice Dominic's his character up a little bit. And it was supposed to be Bronson Reed versus Brian Cage, but Brian Cage ended up getting suspended, so I played Dominic Dijakovic in her spot. Adam Cole versus Finn Balor. And then in the War Games match, it will be Candice LeRae, Mia Yim, Ivelisse, and Camille versus Rhea Ripley, Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Knox, and Jungle Kiona. What happened here was Ivelisse and Mia Yim. This is an extension of the Ivelisse Mia Yim facing Knox and Blackheart. This is just an extension of their feud. Candice LeRae found herself to become into this feud, and Rhea Ripley she returned, and she ended up saving Shotzi and Tegan from all Candice, Mia, and Ivelisse. And then I put Jungle Kiona on Team Ripley, and then I put Camille on Team Candice, and I'm putting Camille in the spot where Indy Hartwell is at the present moment in NXT. She's going to be the protege of Candice LeRae. So Camille's the protege of Candice LeRae, and she ended up helping Candice beat Tegan to get what's called the advantage in the War Games. And since I've been talking, let me show you the roster, and then we'll be done for right now. Okay, so brand. Okay, major stars. So Adam Cole. Let me do it by brand because this would be confusing. Okay, so on Inferno, the major stars are Alex Shelley, Dragon Lee, Io Shirai. See how popular she is. Keith Lee, he's gained some popularity from feuding with Dragon Lee. Khabib Nurmagomedov, Mayu Iwatani, she's been gaining pop. Shawn Michaels is not a wrestler, he's a road agent. Tenille Dashwood, after beating Mayu Iwatani, her popularity skyrocketed, and then after beating Io, it just went up even more. So she's at, the 75 to 79 range. The stars on the brand are Johnny Kushida, Ciampa, Tyler Bate, then Yoi Kazmatsu, and then the well-known are Ace Austin, Alyssa Flash, Chris Sabin, Dakota Kai, Damian Priest, Ilya Dragunov, Jake Something, Joaquin Wild, Rosemary, Santos Escobar, Trent Seven, and Trey Miguel. I forgot to put this match in, but Rosemary ended up, I won't say kidnapping, but she ended up, Damian Priest wanted a piece of Jake Something since he ended up costing him the match against Ace Austin. He was going to face him, but the lights went out, and Rosemary, she wants to awaken the Punisher and Damian Priest, just a callback to his Ring of Honor days when he was called Punishment Martinez. This is just to give Damian Priest a vicious streak. He's still kind of a babyface, but she said the reason he's been losing is because he's soft, and she needs him to be her Punisher. So that's his alter ego at the moment. He just returned last week, and he's the Punisher. He just attacked Jake Something. But she put him through these different trials where he had to fight her different minions. And then when he was ready, she put in blood, she wrote the letter P on his forehead, which stands for Punisher. And he just debuted. So this is Damian Priest's finish. So that's what happened with Damian Priest. So he's currently the Punisher at the moment. I thought that was a good way to give him some character. Boa, Chelsea Green, Deanna, Desmond, Jessica, Johnny Curtis. For all you Fandango fans, Johnny Curtis has been hurt since the beginning of the save. I tried to give him surgery. He was already out for a year, but the surgery ended up putting out at least a year and 4 months. And he's leaving tomorrow. And I don't think I'll be re-signing him. I even booked him for one show. Jordan Grace, Kylie Ray, Leo Rush, Raul Mendoza, Renee Michelle, and Zachary Wentz, and unimportant, Ario Davari, Chase Parker, Indy Hartwell, Jake Atlas, Casey Canzaro, Caden Carter, Leon Ruff, Malcolm Bivens, Matt Martell, Michelle Thomas. Ended up repackaging Santana Garrett, and you'll be seeing that in the next coming weeks. Raquel Gonzalez, Rinku, Robert Stone, Sorov, did Brian Kendrick, Tony Nese, and ended up signing Warhorse as well. So the major stars are on Thunder are Adam Cole, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Karrion Kross, and Charlotte's by far my most popular person. And she wasn't, even though she's lost to people like Bianca and Rhea, she's just been gaining pop. And these are because her segments have been getting at least from at least an 80 to a 100 at some point, at sometimes. So she went from 77 to 85, and she just keeps gaining popularity. She's by far my most popular person. Bandito, Brody King, Eddie Edwards, Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly, Rhea Ripley, Roderick Strong, and Toni Storm. But if I didn't tell you this, after Rhea Ripley lost to Toni Storm, she just came back and helped save the baby faces from the heels in the War Games match. She ended up leaving for a month, ended up bringing her back, and that's for a reason in the storyline. So we'll see what happens there. Well known, Allison K, Brian Cage, Bronson Reed, Cash Wood, Chad Gable, David Richards, Dax Harwood, Dexter Lumis, Swerve. Yeah, Swerve is by far underrated, and you can see his popularity right here. See, he just went from a 40 to now 56, 54, 55. So he's one of my better in-ring competitors. Matt Sydal, Nick Aldis, Trish Stratus, Zach Gibson. My recognizable people are Anthony Green. I do not like the name that they gave him in real life, August Gray. That sounds completely awful. You should have just kept it at Anthony Green. So Anthony Green, Bobby Fish, Candice LeRae, Chris Bay, Dominic Dijakovic, Evo Lees, James Drake, Jungle Kiona, Camille, Killian Dane, Mia Yim, Ricky Starks, Scarlett Bordeaux, Tegan Knox, Notarosa. I just signed Timothy Thatcher. He hasn't debuted yet. He'll be debuting later on in the series. Tyler Breeze. And then the unimportant Brian Pillman Jr. ended up signing him. Cameron Grimes. Jason Momoa, that's my character. Mike Kanellis, Oni Lorcan, Paris. Oh, spoiler alert. Rick Boogs, Shotzi Blackheart, Tay Conti, and that's all the people. Let me go to the creative meetings. Charlotte Flair, Adam Cole, Io Shirai, Dragon Lee, and Khabib Nurmagomedov are our franchise players. The next big thing are Rhea Ripley, Ilya Dragunov, Ricky Starks, high prospects Leah Rush, Brian Pillman, Tay, Zach, and Layla Hirsch. Adam Cole, the Talk on the Talk. Shawn Michaels, Adam Cole, Charlotte Flair, Io Shirai, William Regal. My showstoppers, Adam Cole, Dragon Lee, Io Shirai, Charlotte Flair, Finn Balor. My ring generals, Johnny Wrestling, Tyler Bate, Dragon Lee, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong. Who's hot, Karrion, Bianca, Mayu, Tenille, Yoi. And who's not, I don't think anyone really has that bad of a momentum. At Hidden Gems, Tomahawk TT, Nicole Matthews, Tom Lawler, Rich Swann, and Naomi. Naomi, WWE didn't re-sign her, and she's just been on the indies for a while. And developmental, these are the people having developmental. Aaron Solo, Alexander Jessic, Anthony Bowens, Aria Blake, Ashley Lane, she's a trainer. Azumi ended up signing her because she was a star in Japan. Babatunde, Benjamin Carter, I signed him after I saw what he did with Scorpio Sky on AEW. Camilla Perez, that's the former, is that Jesse Ellison? No, that's not Jesse Ellison. Yep, that was the former. Yeah, that was the former Jesse Ellison. So Camilla Perez ended up signing Top Flight. Denzel Desjardins, Doug Williams is the coach. No, he's a trainer. EJ Nunca, Elena Black, Gail Kim is also a trainer. Griff Garrison, Jeet Rama, Jessica Maya, Karen Yu, Kaylee Ray. I just signed her. I just put her in developmental. I didn't want to spoil it, but here, spoiler alert. Kaylee Ray, she's coming into the company, and she'll be coming in the next couple weeks. Kona Reeves, Mansoor, Marina Shafir, Marty Bell, Max Caster, Rachel Evans, Red Velvet, Sari, Shane Thorne, I put him in developmental. Shazza McKenzie, Simone Johnson, Skylar Story, Sue Young, Tasha Seals, Terrence and Terrell Dudley, Will Hobbs, Zia Lee, Zachary Cooper, and Zoe Stark. And I ended up buying, this is my finances since I started in TEW 2020 and Child Company. I ended up buying Stardom since they were going under, and the roster isn't that big, but we'll see. I got Arisa, Ashika, Azumi, Dasa, Dash. Sorry if I'm botching these names. But Konami, Maki, Koto, Mayu Yamashita, Momo Watanabe, Riho. Yeah, Riho is really popular. I might have to call her up. Sadie Gibbs, Sari, Sayalita, Shoko Nakajima, Starlight Kid, Shuri, Taru, and Utami. I'm not even gonna be disrespectful and mispronounce that. But yeah, I ended up signing some people from Stardom. I might use some of these women for the Mae Young Classic. Yeah, no spoiler alert. Mae Young Classic is gonna be an annual thing. And then the titles, the Dusty Classic was won by Eddie Edwards and David Richards. The Golden Ticket just created that. Karrion Kross has been NXT champion for almost 200 days. Bandito is the Cruiserweight champion. Intercontinental Champion, Bianca Belair, North American Champion, Yuri Kotomatsu, NXT Tag Champs, FTR, NXT Television Champ, that's going to be decided between Keith Lee and Dragon Lee, and then NXT Women's Champion is Tenille Dashwood. So sorry for the brief rundown. I'll put some timestamps I'll put some timestamps either in the description or in the comment section. Sorry for rambling sometimes. I never recorded a video this long, so I'll put some timestamps just to show you some of the things you might want to see, and we will get to NXT Takeover Legacy, and that will be night 1 and night 2. This is a 2-day event. Let's see, and then also another feud that I forgot to talk about is Thunder Rosa versus Gail Kim. Gail Kim said that Thunder Rosa is the future, and this is just a simple way of the old generation recognizing the new generation, the old generation Gail Kim recognizing the new generation in Thunder Rosa, and they'll be having a match at NXT TakeOver Legacy. I realized I didn't pre-book that. Yeah, Johnny Curtis is leaving. I can't show you some of the decisions because, spoiler alert, but I'm going to tell you when I say some huge signings, those are going to be some huge signings. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Tell me what you think down below. If you got some people from the Indies you want me to sign, people from WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, whoever you want me to sign, tell me down below. And we will see you on the next one. All right, peace.